The metallic hum of the Galactic Academy's interstellar shuttle echoed through the vast expanse of the docking bay as the newest cohort of alien students prepared for their first field trip to an unexplored world. The students, a kaleidoscopic mix of species from across the galaxy, chattered excitedly in various languages, their words translated into a unified stream by neural interface devices embedded in their temples. Among them stood Zephyra, a tall, insectoid being with shimmering chitin that reflected the light in iridescent hues. Her multifaceted eyes darted around nervously as she clutched a data tablet loaded with preliminary reports on their destination, Earth, a Category 5 Deathworld. "I still don't understand why we're going there," she muttered to her friend Kavrax, a lumbering, amphibious creature with moss-like skin that emitted a faint bioluminescent glow. "Of all the planets in this quadrant, why Earth? It's infamous for its predatory species, hostile climate, and humans." Kavrax let out a low, rumbling chuckle that sounded like boulders grinding together. "That's precisely why we're going, Zephyra. The Academy wants us to study how such a chaotic and dangerous ecosystem can sustain intelligent life. It's a rare opportunity." As the shuttle's engines roared to life, signaling their imminent departure, an authoritative voice cut through the commotion. Professor Quarix, a spindly, bird-like being with feathers that shimmered like molten silver, addressed the students from the front of the cabin. "Listen closely, students," he began, his tone sharp and commanding. "Earth is unlike any other world you've studied. Its environment is perilous, its fauna is unpredictable, and its dominant species, humans, are renowned for their resilience and ingenuity. Observe carefully, document meticulously, and under no circumstances should you engage with the humans unless absolutely necessary. Is that understood?" A chorus of affirmations filled the cabin, though Zephyr's mandibles clicked together anxiously. She had read the reports. Earth was a place where storms could tear apart entire cities, where creatures with razor-sharp claws and venomous bites prowled the wilderness, and where humans had developed technologies capable of both awe-inspiring creation and catastrophic destruction. The very thought of stepping foot on such a planet made her antennae quiver. The shuttle's descent through Earth's atmosphere was turbulent, the craft shaking as it pierced through thick clouds. When they finally landed in a remote clearing surrounded by dense forest, the students disembarked, their senses immediately assaulted by the alien world around them. The air was thick with the scent of vegetation and the sound of chirping insects, rustling leaves, and distant animal calls. The gravity was heavier than what many of them were accustomed to, and the temperature fluctuated unpredictably. Zephyra activated her environmental suit, a sleek, adaptive garment that regulated temperature and filtered air. She glanced around at her classmates, noting their varied reactions. Kavrax seemed unfazed, his mossy skin absorbing the sunlight, while a reptilian student named Slarzak hissed in discomfort as he adjusted to the humidity. "Stay together," Professor Quarix instructed, leading the group deeper into the forest. "Our first objective is to document the local flora and fauna. Be vigilant and avoid unnecessary risks." As they walked, Zephyr's initial anxiety gave way to curiosity. The forest was alive with vibrant colors and sounds, a cacophony of life that was both chaotic and mesmerizing. She began to record her observations, noting the peculiar shapes of the plants, the iridescent wings of insects, and the calls of unseen creatures. Suddenly, a rustling in the underbrush caught her attention. She froze, her antennae twitching as she scanned the area. A moment later, a small, furry creature with large eyes and a bushy tail emerged, tilting its head curiously as it stared at the group. "It's harmless," Kavrax said, his deep voice reassuring. "Just a local mammal." Zephyr relaxed slightly, but her relief was short-lived. A loud roar echoed through the forest, causing the small creature to dart away. The students exchanged uneasy glances as the ground beneath them vibrated faintly. "What was that?" Zephyra asked, her voice tinged with panic. Professor Quarix's feathers bristled. "That, students, is an example of why Earth is classified as a death world. We're in the territory of a predator. Stay close and move quickly." The group hurried along the trail, their previous awe replaced by a growing sense of urgency. The roar sounded again, closer this time, and Zephyr's mind raced with worst-case scenarios. What kind of creature could produce such a sound? She recalled the reports of apex predators like lions, bears, and jaguars, each more terrifying than the last. As they reached a clearing, the source of the roar became apparent. A massive, feline-like creature with sharp claws and gleaming eyes emerged from the shadows, its gaze fixed on the group. The students froze, their instincts screaming at them to flee, but Professor Quarix held up a hand. "Do not run," he commanded. "Running will trigger its predatory instincts. Stay calm and back away slowly." Zephyr's legs trembled as she followed the professor's instructions, her eyes locked on the predator. The creature growled, its muscles tensing as it prepared to pounce. Just as panic threatened to overwhelm her, Kovrak stepped forward, his massive frame partially shielding the group. "Easy," he said, his voice soothing. He extended a hand, releasing a faint bioluminescent glow that seemed to catch the predator's attention. The creature hesitated, sniffing the air before retreating into the forest. The group exhaled collectively, the tension dissipating as the immediate danger passed. Zephyr's antennae drooped with relief, though her heart still raced. "Well done, Kovrax," Professor Quarix said, his tone approving. "Your quick thinking likely saved us. Let this be a lesson to all of you. On a death world, survival often depends on understanding and adapting to your environment." As they continued their expedition, Zephyr couldn't shake the lingering fear, but she also felt a spark of determination. This was more than a field trip, it was a test of their resilience and resourcefulness. And as daunting as Earth was, she realized there was also an undeniable beauty in its untamed wildness. By the time they returned to the shuttle, the students were exhausted but exhilarated, their data tablets filled with observations and recordings. Zephyr glanced back at the forest as the shuttle's engines roared to life, a mixture of relief and curiosity bubbling within her. Earth was a death world, yes, but it was also a place of incredible complexity and wonder. And as the shuttle ascended into the sky, she couldn't help but wonder what other lessons this dangerous, fascinating planet had in store for them. The shuttle door hissed shut, sealing the alien students within as it ascended above the dense canopy of Earth's vast forest. The interior of the shuttle was a cacophony of overlapping voices as the students exchanged hurried observations about their first venture into the infamous death world. Zephyr, however, sat quietly, staring at her trembling hands. Her mind replayed the encounter with the predator, the gleaming eyes, the razor-sharp claws, and the sheer weight of its gaze. She barely registered Kovrak sitting beside her until he nudged her gently. "You okay?" he asked, his deep voice low enough that it didn't draw attention. I think so," Zephyr replied, her mandibles clicking faintly. "It's just, this planet. It's so unpredictable. Everything feels like it's trying to kill us." Kovrak chuckled softly. "That's what makes it fascinating. The challenge of it. Don't let fear block your curiosity, Zephyr. There's so much to learn here." Before she could respond, the voice of Professor Quarix cut through the cabin. "Attention, students. Our next objective is to observe human activity firsthand. We'll be deploying cloaking devices to avoid detection. Remember, interaction with humans is strictly prohibited. You are observers only. This is not a drill." Zephyr's antennae twitched nervously as the shuttle descended toward a human settlement. Through the viewport, she caught her first glimpse of human civilization. It was a sprawling city, a mix of towering skyscrapers, congested streets, and glowing lights. The sharp contrast between nature and technology fascinated her. Despite her anxiety, curiosity began to creep in, just as Kovrak had said. The shuttle landed in a secluded area, shielded by its advanced cloaking technology. Each student was outfitted with a portable invisibility field that rendered them undetectable to human senses. As they stepped out into the bustling city, Zephyr's nerves were drowned out by sheer sensory overload. The cacophony of car horns, distant sirens, and the chatter of thousands of humans was overwhelming. The air smelled of smoke, food, and an array of unidentifiable substances. "Stick to your assigned groups," Professor Quarix instructed. document everything, from human behaviors to their interactions with the environment. Zephyr found herself paired with Kovrax and Slarzek, the reptilian student whose scales shimmered in the city lights. The trio navigated the crowded streets, their cloaking devices keeping them hidden as they observed the humans around them. Zephyr marveled at the diversity of the species. Humans of various shapes, sizes, and skin tones moved with purpose, their expressions ranging from joy to frustration. "They're so fragile-looking," Slarzek commented, his voice tinged with disbelief. "And yet they thrive here." "How?" "Adaptability," Kovrax replied. "Humans are like weeds. They find ways to survive, no matter how harsh the conditions." As they continued their observations, Zephyr's attention was drawn to a commotion in a nearby alley. A group of humans had gathered around a smaller individual, their voices raised in aggression. The smaller human clutched a bag tightly, their face pale with fear. Zephyr's multifaceted eyes widened as she realized the larger humans were threatening the smaller one. "We have to do something," she whispered, her voice trembling. "We can't interfere," Kovrax reminded her, though his tone was conflicted. "It's against the rules." "But they're in danger," Zephyr insisted, her heart pounding. "Isn't part of our study to understand their behavior?" "This is part of it, isn't it?" Before either of her companions could stop her, Zephyr took a cautious step toward the scene. She activated her recorder, documenting the interaction while fighting the urge to intervene. The larger humans seemed to be demanding something, their gestures aggressive and their voices harsh. The smaller humans stammered a response, their fear palpable. Just as Zephyr was debating whether to break protocol, the situation took an unexpected turn. A new human entered the alley, their presence commanding. They were clad in a uniform, with a badge that glinted in the dim light. The aggressors froze, their postures shifting from dominance to submission. The uniformed human spoke with authority, their tone firm yet controlled. Within moments, the situation de-escalated, and the aggressors dispersed. Zephyr exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. The smaller human thanked the uniformed one, their relief evident. As the group left the alley, Zephyr turned to Kovrax and Slarzek. "What was that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "An enforcer," Kovrax explained. "Humans have systems to maintain order, though they're far from perfect. It's fascinating how they've developed social structures to mitigate their own chaos." Zephyr nodded, her mind racing with questions. What drove the aggressors to act that way? What motivated the enforcer to step in? And what kind of society balanced such extremes of conflict and resolution? As the trio continued their exploration, Zephyr's data tablet filled with notes and recordings. She documented the stark contrasts of human life, the towering skyscrapers and crumbling alleyways, the bustling crowds and lonely individuals, the acts of aggression and moments of kindness. The complexity of human society was both bewildering and captivating. By the time they returned to the shuttle, Zephyr's initial fear had transformed into something else entirely. Earth was still a death world, its dangers undeniable, but it was also a place of resilience, innovation, and profound contrasts. The humans, for all their flaws and fragility, were a testament to the power of adaptability. As the shuttle ascended into the sky, Zephyr gazed out at the sprawling city below. She couldn't help but feel a growing sense of admiration for the inhabitants of this chaotic, dangerous, and wondrous world. And for the first time since their arrival, she felt a spark of excitement for what lay ahead.